Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Cancer for January 2016. Check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com, or click on the link below this video, where you can see more about my new astrology blog and my other blogs, and you can check out my new course called Creating a Successful Online Business, which is enrolling now. So what is going on for the month of January? We've got important things to look at in general. We've got things specific for Cancer. So let's just talk about first thing, the fact that it is a new year. Kind of, but not really. January 1st is the beginning of the solar-based calendar year. This in no way is in resonance with the astrological new year, which is when the sun moves into Aries, which is in March. If you pay close attention to the energy at these different times of the year, you'll see what I'm talking about, why I don't really count this or experience this as a new year. The energy of Aries is bursting forth, is fresh, is new. It's the baby of the zodiac. And that is what feels like a new year to me. Fresh, clean slate, starting a new cycle. That doesn't happen until the end of March. So here we are in January with this fictitious new year. And it's really important for me to bring this up, not just because I have an opinion about it, because I wouldn't bring it up for the sake of nothing. I'm bringing it up because this cloaks the whole energy of January with confusion, because everyone is tabling, or I'm sure people are saying, I'm going to do this in January. Once I get through the holidays, I'm going to take care of this and this and this. I'm going to do all this and I'm going to start all this. The best time to do a lot of these new things is actually in December. There's some really great, zesty, zippy, feisty, forward-moving energy in December. So if you're watching this before you get to January and there are some things that you were tabling until January, then I recommend that you try to get some of the things going in December, and you'll see what I mean. Again, the best teacher for astrology is paying attention to what's going on as it relates to what the astrological experience is. So you'll see once we start to get into January, it's kind of like, it's just like going backwards from Mercury retrograde, from Jupiter retrograde, from conjunctions with the Sun on January 5th to Pluto, conjunctions between January 23rd and 28th with Mercury to Pluto, these energies amplifying this deep probing energy of Pluto. So it's inward, it's backward, definitely not anything but pushing forward into New Year. So if you're waiting to launch a project, if you're waiting to start something new, if you're waiting to start a new diet, or exercise routine. I understand it's really hard to get your diet situated during the holidays, but at least you can start your exercise regimen and start factoring in some of the holiday, your diet with the holiday in December. It's really, really important to the future success of your long-term goal to time your project correctly. And I don't want to ever discourage you for doing work on yourself or helping to progress on your journey, but I want to make sure that you have gusto behind what you're launching. So, January has Mercury going retrograde on January 5th. It has Mercury going direct on January 25th. The days around the going direct and retrograde, so like the several days before January 5th and the several days after January 25th, which essentially, as you see, is the entire month of January, is very awkward in communication. It's people, it's like you're over here, someone else is here, and you're like, whoop, not really meeting, and that's the nature of things. So if you're trying to push forward on projects and you're getting frustrated, then the universe is telling you you're supposed to be going backwards. You're not supposed to be doing some of the things that you think you're supposed to be doing, and you can save yourself a lot of stress and drama by just not doing those things. So I think often of a situation, because I have Aries rising, so it's really hard for me to follow the lessons that I understand, because I'm always wanting to push forward, always. It's the nature of Aries, like I talked about with the energy of the new year. So I remember one time I was working on a book and it wasn't working out, but I was forcing myself. I was going to finish this. And so I did the whole book, and I kept having problems all along the way, and I finally pushed through and the whole thing disappeared. The whole book disappeared. I didn't get the message from the beginning every time there was a problem that the universe was saying, you're not really ready to write that right now. There's really more things that you need to know before you do that, and all of this stuff. And because of that, the universe created something very dramatic for me, besides the series of stress that came up beforehand. So let that example be a lesson to you, because when you see yourself knocking your head against a wall, trying to do something when Mercury's in retrograde, there's a pretty good chance you're not supposed to be doing that then, or you're not supposed to be doing it in that way, or you need to take a break. There's a lot of balancing that happens with astrological transits that is the universe trying to help us to get more balance in our lives, because true happiness comes from riding that line of balance between all things, riding the wave in between the chaos potentials all around. So Mercury retrograde gives us this amazing time to do less, or to do things differently, or to disconnect from devices, since Mercury rules the devices, get a little bit away from the now more, faster, bigger, and get more into the simplicity of life. So if you want to read more or hear more about Mercury retrograde and what to do and what not to do, check out my video specifically on the topic called Mercury retrograde on my YouTube channel, Annie Botticelli, because there's lots of things to know about it. And since it happens 3 or 4 times a year, you really want to understand this. Every time we have this cycle, the more you can understand it, the happier you're going to be, because the more you can use the energy productively. So, what is specific for Cancer energy? Well, we've got a strong focus in the 5th house for you early degree placements, and this is coming soon for you middle to later degree placements. If you have your birthday from June 22nd through around July 1st, you are an early degree placement. July 2nd through July 12th, middle degree placement. July 13th through the 23rd, late degree placement. If you're watching for your rising sign and you have 0 to 9 degrees, that's early. Around 10 to 19 degrees, that is middle. And then 20 to 29 degrees, that is late. Okay, so when I talk about early, middle, and late, that's how you figure out where you are on that. And the reason why I take the time to do it, even though I know that it confuses some people and they turn it off and disconnect from Annie Botticelli forever because they're like, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. I'm taking that risk because for those of you who are willing to go deeper and you want to learn more, I really want to make it available to you, because the chart of an early degree placement Cancer looks totally different than the chart of a late degree Cancer placement. And the middle degrees have subtle hybrid in between, so your chart is like a hybrid between the early and the late degree chart. One of these days I'm going to figure out how to insert pictures into the video. You can see, if you've been watching my videos for a while, that my videos have greatly evolved over time, and I think they will continue to. So when I can insert pictures to show you what these charts look like, you'll understand why I'm taking the time to break it down this way. Okay, so now, all that being said, Mars is in the 5th house for early degree placements. That is not going to be very current for most middle and any of the late degree placements, but it's coming for you. And what does it mean? Mars is like this energy of this rowdy friend. So let's say we all have that friend who has a lot of testosterone, we'll say, right? And they get very rowdy. Maybe they get into fights, or maybe they get into mischief, or maybe they're enthusiastic. Whatever it is with them, there's never a dull moment. And that is what happens with Mars. So if you track Mars throughout the chart and you see where it is for you at any given time, that's the energy that's getting rowdy at that time. And that can be for better or worse. That can cause conflicts or complications from the over-aggressiveness, or it can cause inspiration and forward movement and zest towards working on something. So the early degree placements have this in the 5th house, which has to do with children, pregnancy, conception, things involving kids that you already have or other children that aren't your own, creative projects just for the sake of itself, creativity, music, art, athleticism, hobbies, games, fun, true love. All of these are 5th house things. So it's basically the 5th house runs the spectrum from preconception to conception to birth to the experience of the whatever is being birthed, and then that thing taking on its own life. It's the whole cycle of creation in this house. And so all the different points at which something is being created is in this house. And there's so many things that can be created. So some of you might get really excited about dating. This is a house of dating. Some of you might get really excited about things involving children. You might find that you're more fertile at this point. And that might be good if you're trying to have a baby, but it won't be good if you're not trying to have a baby. So the energy that surges, that makes someone create anything, whether it's a child or a work of art, is really flowing for the early Cancers at this time. This is coming soon for the middle to later degree placements. For you middle to later degree placements, you still have Mars, this rowdy buddy, in your 4th house. And the 4th house is the house of home, of family, of upbringing, of childhood experiences and issues. It's one of the psychology houses, things that are affecting you now that happened during childhood. It's your ancestry, it's home-related projects, or what feels like home to you, even if it's not your actual house. A place could be like home. Real estate, design projects, things involving houses. So that is where the rowdy energy is for the rest of you. So you might find that your parents are being more annoying than ever, or your sister or brother is like causing all kinds of problems, or that you all are cooperating together in this wonderful way. And that is the magic of the spectrum of experience of these planets, because they're in this plane that we live in this third dimensional, well, we live in a multidimensional reality, but where our physical body exists in the third dimension is this experience of duality. So we project that duality onto everything that we see, including the planets. So our experience of the planets has a dual nature. And so there's a lower vibrational expression and there's a higher vibrational expression. So the same planet that can bring hard-working cooperation together can bring falling outs and fighting. So how are you going to use that energy? That's why we want to know about this. So if you have a project or something involving your kids where you're butting heads, Mars is there. It's ensuring that things are heating up. Whatever you're doing isn't working. You have to do something a different way. And when you do something a different way, you might be able to get to the cooperative end of the Mars placement. And the same thing with your true love. If you're dating and you're knocking heads together and you're just like not getting anywhere, you got to use the energy to do something a little different so that you can move into cooperation. And the same thing with it being in the 4th house for your family or whatever's going on. If what you're doing isn't working, this is the time to try something different. And this is further supported by the retrograde, because old problems are going to come up. Anything that gets swept under the rug, when Mercury goes retrograde, the rug gets picked up and just stuff goes everywhere. And then you're like, there's a dust swarm and things are all over the place and it's awkward. But it gives you the chance to properly sweep up those things, put those things in the garbage where they belong. And you have to do that work when the dust is all up in the air. Otherwise, you just get the dust all back together and then put it back under the rug when Mercury goes retrograde, and then you're going to have to deal with it again. So I hope that you see where I'm going with this, that retrograde brings things up. The more you deal with them, the less you'll have to deal with them in the future. And the more you don't try to do new projects, but instead try on new things. Retrogrades are a time to try on something, not to make a huge commitment, not to buy an annual gym membership, and not to do something that's long-term, that's a commitment. It's a time to try things on. Like you go to a church to see if you like it, but you don't become a member of it. Things like that. That's the energy of January. Something else that's a longer-term story for Cancers is that Saturn, for the early degree placements, not quite yet for the middle or late degree placements, but this is coming for you eventually. Saturn has been in the 6th house, which is the house of health. So if you are a Cancer, have a Cancer placement in your chart that's important, you may have been having trouble with your health or things having to do with your body. And so I don't want you to despair, because what Saturn is trying to do is it's trying to get you to strengthen the weak links. Okay, so let's say you're at a picnic and everybody eats a potato salad, which turns out to have salmonella in it, and only 4 people get the salmonella. Most of the people ate the salmonella, but it didn't take root in their being because they had enough good probiotics maybe that ate it, their immune system was strong. That is showing the weak link. And what's happening for many Cancers right now is the weak link is being shown in your health. So even though the experience of it is not very comfortable, it's not very fun sometimes, it's showing you that you have weak links so that you can strengthen those weak links so that when the tests come again, or when you go to eat the potato salad again, either you'll intuitively not eat the potato salad or you'll eat it and you'll be so strong that it won't matter. And that is what Saturn is trying to do. For the rest of you placements, Saturn is doing that story still in your 5th house of children, or in your 5th house of creativity, or your projects, or your true love. So you might be experiencing heaviness or problems or blocks or difficulties with conception. And sometimes these are linked to the 5th house of children with the 6th house of health. You know, there's a story being told as a continuum here. But in any case, Saturn is wanting you to be disciplined and steadfast and to not give up, because you will get gifts that come from the hard work that you put in at this time. So whether it is Saturn moving through your house of children, maybe you're having trouble having a child. I've definitely seen many a person where they're having miscarriages during, or problems conceiving when Saturn is in their 5th house. And then as soon as Saturn leaves there, they're pregnant. They have no problem. It's easy. But they learned a lot of things about their bodies. They learned a lot of things about the circumstances that they had. And they worked hard with Saturn to get the gift. Do you see what I'm saying? So I just wanted to spend a little time to talk about this long-term thing, because I know that there are Cancer placements that are dealing with things with their health, dealing with things with children, whether it's children that they have already long-term challenges with children, something like that. Just be steadfast and be disciplined and be consistent, and eventually you'll get the Saturn gifts. So there are many other things going on in the charts. If you would like a personal chart reading, you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and you can click on coaching and see more about my coaching. I do have a special coaching package right now that you can check out. Also, you can sign up for my free email newsletter, which makes you part of my community, and you get sent out a written version of the upcoming transits. So you have additional information to work with. I send those out usually about a month ahead of time. And while you're there, definitely check out my Shine program, which is a 28-day virtual coaching program, which is available on sliding scale. And this is a wonderful time to start something like that, because it's 28 days. It's a short-term thing. And also, it is working on problems that have existed in the past. So you're going back over things. So January is a wonderful time to do things on yourself that make a short-term commitment. It's a wonderful time for you to go back over things, and for you to work hard so that things that are hard for you now won't be hard for you in the future. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I hope you have a wonderful new year, even if it's not a new year, and I'll see you next month. Bye.